Hi, I'm Christy. Welcome to Weird and Witchy Shit, a place for, well, weird and witchy shit. Here we talk about everything from the magic of yoga, rituals, tarot, crystals, astrology, self-love, mental health, spiritual stuff, spooky things, and anything of the mystical variety. So if that sounds like the kind of shit you're into, then you're in the right place, my friend. Welcome to the coven. Lurking in the forests of Canada and North America, a malevolent spirit has haunted the people of these areas for centuries, causing fear, terror, insanity, and a greed so unquenchable that even the cannibalistic urges it invokes cannot satisfy. An insatiable evil described by Basil H. Johnson as a gaunt skeleton recently disinterred from the grave, with an ash-grey complexion of death and eyes pushed back deep into their sockets. What little lips it has are tattered and bloody. The creature gives off an odour like no other, that of decay and decomposition, of death and corruption. The beast known as the wendigo. This folklore originates from the First Nations people based in and around the east coast forests of Canada, and it has since spread to areas around America, mainly the Great Lakes and the Great Plains. I am not from Canada or America, surprise, surprise, so I don't know anything what I'm saying about these places. I'm literally just reading the words and regurgitating it back to you. Wendigos are said to be found in forests, caves, near lakes, and more often than not in extremely cold climates. The word wendigo comes from the Algonquin, I hope I'm saying that correctly, the Algonquin language, and can be translated to mean evil spirit that devours mankind. Most are described to be extremely tall, extremely thin and gaunt looking, with ashy grey skin that is pulled so tightly over their bones that you can see their skeletal structure through their flesh. Although these beasts are extremely huge, they are also incredibly fast, so they rarely actually leave any people who have seen them who can give a valid enough account on what they look like, because they are just so fast. And it's actually also said that just the sight of a wendigo is so terrifying that it can stop a human heartbeat in an instant. Although most are said to have razor sharp fangs, extremely long tongues, big long talons, and torn and bloody lips that are said to have been devoured by the wendigo itself due to its all-consuming hunger. It actually started eating its own face off. Their eyes can vary in colour, but often they are said to either be red or yellow, glowing eyes that are sunken deeply into the eye sockets. Although they are vaguely humanoid looking, they're definitely more monster than human, and they do have animal-like features, including long pointed ears and antlers sprouting out of their skull. Not something you see on a human being every single day. Also, by the way, if you've not seen the movie Antlers, I watched that the other week and it was actually so good. I really recommend it. What makes a wendigo so terrifying, apart from all these things that I've just said, is that they do have these animalistic urges, but they have that paired with all the sly and cunning of a human. In fact, they are supposedly actually a lot smarter than the average human. They are able to outrun any human, and they have superhuman strength, so they can tear a person limb from limb with very little effort. Their senses are so heightened that they are able to detect a human heartbeat from miles away, and they often lure victims to them by mimicking the cries of an injured animal or even a person crying for help. The thing that drives the wendigo to kill is its desire for raw human flesh. This desire can never be fulfilled though, because they are destined to roam the earth forever, feeling unsatisfied but having such intense cravings and a need to fulfill this satisfaction but never able to.
For too long I've been parched of thirst and unable to quench it. Too long I've been starving to death and haven't died.
Because the wendigo's starvation is so all-consuming, their sole purpose in life is to find and hunt humans so that they can eat their human flesh. Because their hunting style is so frenzied and violent, they often leave a path of destruction anywhere they go. This can include causing wild animals to stampede, ice storms, hurricanes, tornadoes. They can tear down entire forests at the one time. To prepare itself for the long, harsh winters, where often the wendigo does go into hibernation, they've been known to stock up on humans to be able to see them through, either keeping parts of human bodies just decaying away somewhere that they can go and nibble on when they fancy a snack, or they've even been said to be able to bring back living humans to keep in their lair so that they have a supply of fresh meat. It's unclear exactly how the wendigo came about, but most stories do tell of the very first wendigo actually being a huntsman who got lost in the forest during a very dark and very cold winter. He was driven to madness and consumed by starvation that he actually resorted to cannibalism. The heinous act of feasting on another human's flesh turned the hunter into a creature no longer fit to call itself human, who was then destined to wander around the earth forever, trying to fulfill this hunger. The longer he roamed, the hungrier he grew and the madder he became, until eventually that part of him that was human didn't exist at all and he became entirely a monster, which is the wendigo. It's not exactly easy to slow down or kill a wendigo. Like I said, not only are they super fast and super strong and super smart, but they also have the ability to regenerate their wounds much quicker than like any other human or animal can. So any kind of injury that you do manage to inflict on them will just heal up relatively quickly. Your best bet on successfully killing one would be to target its heart of ice by either shooting it with a silver bullet, stabbing it with a silver blade or stake, much like you would a werewolf. The icy heart that resides in its chest may be the only trace of the human that it once was, and they are still just frozen inside, but the only way to kill the beast is to kill the human too. You might even want to go one step further to make sure that the spirit of the wendigo absolutely will not come back. You might want to take the shattered pieces of the heart, lock it in a silver box and bury it in a church cemetery. And if you want to be absolutely sure that it's not coming back, you might want to dismember the wendigo and bury all its parts separately from each other, with the heart buried in a cemetery. And you know, if it's coming back from that, then you're fucked. I mean, if you're a skeptic, you might well be inclined to just believe that this is nothing more than just a spooky story. However,
You best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one.
there is a very real kind of psychosis called wendigo psychosis that normally happens to people who live around these areas where the wendigo stories originate, and it tends to happen to people in the long, harsh winters. Symptoms of this might include feeling like you are turning into a wendigo, an intense fear that you're going to turn to cannibalism and won't be able to stop yourself, as well as a strong compulsion to eat raw human meat. Unfortunately, some people do succumb to the wendigo psychosis. In 1878, a married father of 6 by the name of Swift Runner, where him and his family were starving in the darkest winters. Although there were resources available to them about 25 miles away, apparently the winter was far too harsh to travel through. Although with a name like Swift Runner, you'd think that he would just get there and back in no time at all. Like, you can't be that swift. Sadly, the eldest son of the family ended up dying of starvation, and Swift, maddened by his hunger, ended up killing and eating the rest of his family. At the end of the winter, Swift returned to civilization and he went to a Catholic church. When he went inside, he told the priests that all his family had died of starvation during the winter, and they're looking at him like, but you don't look like you've been starving. So they were incredibly suspicious of him because he looked surprisingly healthy for someone whose entire family just died of starvation. Anyway, the priests took him in and they provided him with shelter, but suspicions around him just started to grow even more when every single night he had these horrific nightmares where he'd wake everyone up with a blood-curdling scream every single night from these horrific nightmares. And if all of this wasn't dodgy enough, he was also caught trying to lead a group of children into the woods. You can't fucking do that. The police arrested Mr. Runner and he eventually did lead them to where all his family had died. When the police had went into the home, his suspicions were confirmed because they found a lot of human broken bones lying everywhere, many of which had all the marrow sucked out of them, and they found an entire pot of human fat. This is where Swift Runner confessed to his crimes, but he says that he only committed the crimes and ate his family because he had been possessed by the spirit of a wendigo. However, the wendigo claim didn't do him any favours and he was still hung for his crimes. Another well-known case is that of Jack Fiddler. He was a well-renowned shaman and magic man who was very popular and very successful in what he done. Hello, baby. Coming up? You coming to say hello? Come on then. Isn't she more fierce than a wendigo? There they are. Good girl. So Jack Fiddler was very well documented on his abilities to kill wendigos. So Jack Fiddler was very well documented for his abilities to defeat wendigos, claiming to have killed upwards of 14 of them. Some of these wendigos he had come across in the wild, and some of them he claimed had been sent to him by enemy shamans who were out to get him and trying to kill him. Other accounts were of family members begging him to kill their loved ones because they claimed that they had been possessed by a wendigo, and they wanted him to kill the wendigo before it entirely took over their family member, so he would kill them before they were fully transformed. In fact, Jack's own brother Peter was also killed because he was turning into a wendigo when they were out on an expedition and food supplies ran short and the transformation within began. Could just have been hangry. Probs didn't need to kill him. Eventually, Jack and his brother Joseph, who worked really closely with him, were both arrested and charged with murder. Jack ended up taking his own life, and Joseph did receive a pardon, but actually died before he could receive the news of his pardon. Although sightings of the wendigo maybe aren't as prolific as they once were, there are many tribes throughout Canada and North America who continue to pass down these tales, and for them that is their truth and a huge part of their culture. And some people swear blind that although it sounds completely insane, that wendigos are 100% true. I mean, if the wendigo is as deadly and as fierce as what we are led to believe, it does only make sense that there's not too many sightings of them and these people have lived to tell the tale. And when you think about it, the amount of people that must go missing in the forests or in cold climates, up mountains and near caves, and they just disappear and are never seen again, who's to say that's not a wendigo? Much like Sasquatch, Nessie and the Kraken, you could just put all this down to spooky campfire stories and an overactive imagination, but me personally, I like to believe that there's things out there much bigger than me that I just can't fully, with my teeny tiny human brain, comprehend. So I'll never rule it out. Even if the things out there are scary, I really like that part of myself that can hold on to the inner child belief that things like werewolves and vampires and even wendigos are real. It just makes life a little bit more fun. And listen, I'm from Scotland. I know 100% the Loch Ness Monster's real. For me, I'm a believer. I'll always be a believer. And you can never really prove that these things don't exist. That's the way that I see it. There is always a possibility that one day someone can come and go, look, here is the proof that it does exist, but what are you going to do? Here is the proof that it doesn't exist. Look, no Wendigo. Like, hey! Elfie! Hey! Stop it, you ferocious beast! Stop it! If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can get me on Instagram at Christys_Coven. That's KRISTYS_Coven. You can also find me on YouTube at Christys Coven, where I post a lot of free yoga classes and shit like that. And I'd love to have you join, because it's not a coven if it's just me. And until next time, bye!